fire risk assessment is the cornerstone of the RRO, and therefore fire and rescue authorities place a great deal of importance on it. We're more concerned, however, with the findings of the fire risk assessment than the documentation itself and what is done with any findings that come out of a risk assessment being completed. Where a risk assessment hasn't been completed, the fire and rescue authorities have the powers under the order to take enforcement action or, in extreme cases, to prosecute people who haven't got one. There are a number of important things that managing agents can do for us. Firstly, to make sure that all residents prior to a fire know what to do in case of a fire and how to react and behave. The second point is that they should act upon any findings of the fire risk assessment to make sure that the maintenance of the building is kept up to scratch. And thirdly, any firefighting equipment in the building or systems that are there for firefighters in the case of fire should be maintained in proper standard. It depends largely on the type of building and the properties of construction. In a building that is designed and constructed where the method of making people safe is to stay in their flats during a fire and there is no alarm system in the common areas, then we don't require to have extinguishers in those areas. If, however, the type of construction and that means that evacuation of the building is required in a fire, then we may dictate that extinguishers and those types of agents are in the common areas. It's an established practice in this country that buildings should be constructed to ensure that a compartment will contain a fire for at least up to 1 hour. Therefore, as long as the person evacuates from that particular compartment, other residents in adjacent compartments can be quite safe to remain in their premises. And that is the basis of the advice that the London Fire Brigade gives and indeed the communities and local government agencies give. With regard to other types of premises, however, where this is not the case, then full evacuation may be necessary. Even if the site is unmanned, there are still processes that can be used to leave the information on site. Use of things such as plans information boxes or information types of systems, which are proprietary, can be used in this instance, which allows the fire brigade to access information regarding the premises even when it is unstaffed. In general terms, we have a large number of fires caused with cooking and smoking related issues. These are generally in the dwelling areas. In the common areas of flats, often unattended rubbish and everything else can cause problems with discarded smoking materials, etc. With regard to anything that's placed in common areas, everything can be a potential hazard. The more things that are in the common areas create a problem, obviously, in terms of evacuation in the case of emergency, and so therefore should be avoided at all costs. Fire and rescue services have had a number of discussions now with managing agents, etc., around this particular issue. There doesn't seem to be a common standard of contract at the moment which ensures the ownership of those doors. I've seen contracts which have the doors belonging to the resident, and in other situations obviously the management companies still retain ownership of those doors. Where we do find that a front door doesn't meet fire standards, the fire service can and will take enforcement action against any resident or management company, as it does jeopardise the risk and risk the lives of other people in the premises. While I can't talk specifically about the Camberwell fire for a number of reasons, there are a number of lessons that come out of situations such as that. The first one is to ensure that the fire risk assessment is kept up to date, and that all alterations and everything in the building are subject to that fire risk assessment process. It's important to make sure that it is current and it is accurate. It's important we all work together. As managing agents, you play a key role in the safety of your residents living in apartment buildings. By making sure that fire risk assessments are carried out in a timely manner and the findings acted upon, this will ensure their safety and make our job a lot easier should a fire occur.